Good morning, I'm Sharyn Sarner. We're at the JCC in Stamford, Connecticut, and it's May the 20th. On behalf of the Jewish Historical Society of Fairfield County, I'm interviewing Max Schneider. Hey Max.
Very good.
We're going to interview you
You're the best
about,
part of the interview.
thank you. We're going to interview you about your military experience. Tell us briefly about your family. Tell us about where you were born.
I was born in Vienna, Austria
And when?
in 1922, October 3rd, 1922.
Tell us about your parents and what they did. What was their occupation?
My parents, they had a grocery store in Vienna.
Right.
In my time, I can tell you about them before that time, but that's not the question.
We got that on the other interview we did
Yeah.
with you. How many siblings did you have?
One
Brother or sister?
brother,
Older or younger?
younger,
Okay, so you were the oldest in the family.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How did you happen to serve in the military? Tell us about how that came about.
Well, I came to the United States just 9 days before World War II started in Poland. And I lived here, and when they finally called me, I became a soldier in the army.
You were
Wasn't my
drafted?
first pick, but
Yeah. Were you drafted or enlisted?
I was drafted.
You were drafted. And what branch of service did they draft you in?
Army of the United States.
The Army, okay. And what kind of training did they give you initially?
Initially, just basic training in the infantry medics.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was there, I was transferred to the motor pool, like always,
That was because of your expertise, is that correct?
because I was a mechanic, and they needed mechanics more than they needed medics.
Okay. But it also said you were in intelligence. Why was that?
That was towards the end of the war.
Mm-hmm.
They needed German-speaking personnel,
Yeah,
and they thought they could use me.
right, because you were German speaking. Yeah. So did you have any specialized training? I mean, you already were a mechanic, but did they train you to work on anything in particular?
Well, the one in particular that was interesting was they sent me to the Packard Motor Car Company in Detroit, and they wanted me to learn about the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, which powers the Mustang P-51. It was the engine that the British used very successfully in their Spitfire. And the P-51 initially had General Motors engines, Allison engines, and and that made the P-51 pretty sluggish. It wasn't really a good fighter. But when we changed over to the Spitfire engine, the Merlin engine, that thing became a different airplane altogether. And we used that airplane very successfully in Germany to follow the bombers into Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And it had enough range and it had enough of everything to make it a good, very good airplane. I think it was one of the best during the war.
Really? So how long were you at the Packard facility?
Just a short period of time, just to get the, I believe it was 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very fast course, It was a good course,
Right,
but very like the Army, everything is fast.
right. Then where did you go from there?
From there, they sent me to a replacement depot in Florida. And that was actually the worst place I've ever been in while I was in the
Really?
Army. It was so bad. They billeted us in a county fair where they had stables where they kept cattle and pigs and everything else, but I guess they put me in the right place.
Oh gosh. How long were you there?
Huh?
How long were you there?
Not very long, you know.
Good.
And they found a place for me in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
They sent, you know, after all the training, they sent me to
Kansas.
Kansas, you know, to what the heck was the name?
Oh, you talking about the base?
Well, anyway,
Mm-hmm.
it was a small airfield,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll think about it, I'll tell you about it. And we had mostly B-25s over there, the same airplane that Doodle used for Tokyo.
Yeah.
But we were phasing him out because they were a little too sluggish
Right.
and we had faster planes, you know, not better planes, but faster planes
Yeah.
to do the job. And I stood there, I was there for quite a while, and I had a very good experience over there. They liked my expertise,
Right.
you know, what little I learned in the Army.
Right.
And in fact, they didn't even want to let me go to military intelligence school. They wanted to keep me,
Really?
but I knew that could not be because my German language was more important to them at that moment because the invasion was just about ready to start or started already, you know, and they sent me over to Hagerstown.
Mm-hmm.
And on the way, I got a pass to go home, which Hagerstown, Maryland is not too far from New York City, you know. I went home for a few days, and I met my wife on that trip.
Right.
Anyway, when I came back, I had to go back to Hagerstown. I was shipped over after it was a tough school, a really tough school.
In what way?
Huh?
In what way? Explain a little bit.
To begin with, you had to work 7 days a week. On the 8th day, you got a day off,
Mhm.
you know. And every week you got, instead of Sunday off, you got one day Monday, then Tuesday, then Tuesday, you know. Well, anyway, it was a tough school. They really try to force the stuff in with a hammer.
Mhm.
After that, I was glad to go already.
Yeah. Where did you go from there?
They put me on a boat and to the Queen Elizabeth
Wow. Wow.
in style.
Yes.
But I wasn't going in style. We had deckers of, we were in the hold, you know.
Yeah.
And we had people stacked up in stacks, you know.
Mhm.
But we were there, we made it pretty fast to Edinburgh, Scotland.
Yeah.
From there, they took us right onto the train, and they shipped us down to, I think it was Southampton, I don't remember, I was there before. And from there, they shipped us to Dieppe, France, and they shipped us by that time we were in France already. They shipped us on a train to Paris, which is only 90 miles away. But it took us 3 days to go to Paris.
Wow.
Wartime, you know.
Yeah.
And I can tell a few funny stories about it, but this is not good.
Well, you can tell us some stories, yeah. Yeah.
First thing we did, you know, they put us in cattle cars, you know. 40 and 8s they called them in Europe, you know. You could put 40 men in there or 8 horses.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Well, they put the 40 men in there. And at night, you know, it got a little smelly, you know.
Yeah.
So we made up, nobody's gonna take their boots off, you know. But the first thing you know, they started, one guy would just unbuckle the boots a little bit, and then the other boot, first thing you know, boots were off, you know. In the morning, you were glad to get out of that place. It smelled so bad. But anyway,
Where did you end up going? So you said you ended up in France?
The what?
Where did the train take you? Where did the train take you?
To Paris.
To Paris, okay. And is that where you stationed?
Get my handkerchief if I can find it.
So you were stationed in Paris?
No,
No.
no. From there they sent me to Germany.
Okay.
And we went to Wiesbaden, and from there to Bad Schwabach. That Bad Schwabach was the headquarters of, Wiesbaden, I guess, was the headquarters of MIS, the military intelligence. But we were built in Bad Schwabach, which wasn't too bad, you know. And they were gonna send us all over the place to help out with the intelligence work, you know. But something happened over there, that was unusual, you know. They asked, does anybody over here have any mechanical experience? And I raised my hand. And he said, he asked me what experience I had. I told him, listen, I was working for Manhattan Pioneer Corporation, I was working for a cab company, I was working for different places, you know, I was a mechanic, you know. And he said, go down to the motor pool and see Lieutenant O'Brien. He was a young lieutenant, he was about my age, maybe young. I introduced myself and he asked me my experience, you know. He says, you'll do, he said. We have a problem over here. We hired all these German mechanics because our guys, you know, they don't want to work no more on this stuff, you know, and they want to go home already, you know. And, but these guys, they run the motor pool. We have a guy actually that's in charge over there at the motor pool. His name is Tax, but he can't speak German. He's a young guy. And he don't know nothing about cars either. The only reason he got the job is he was a real hero during the fighting. And they wanted to do something for him. And they gave him the job. We want you to work with these guys. So I said, okay, come in Monday morning and I'll introduce you to the crew over there. He introduced me to the crew and I started talking to them in German right away, you know, like easy fun. And I seen a Jeep over there that was just came in. And So I asked the question, what are you gonna do to the Jeep, you know?
Right.
One of the guys says, we're gonna put a clutch in there. I says to him, how long is that gonna take you? Oh, we'll have it out by the end of the week. I started laughing. By the end of the week, this thing has to go out the day you start. Oh, das ist unmöglich, das is impossible, they said. So I said, well, just watch me. Tomorrow morning, I'll bring my fatigues and I'll show you how it's done. I started off 8 o'clock in the morning. They all assembled over there and watched me. I raised up the Jeep, whatever I had to do, yanked out the bolts from the transmission, you know. One of them was tough to take out. You needed a little special tool. Says, you guys got a welder over here? Yeah, you got a torch here. So I heated up the tool, put it in the vise, and bent it over. Doing that was like nothing, you know. I was able to take the screws out. I had that thing out and I had it back in with a clutch by lunchtime. And these guys were making eyes, yeah, this guy isn't gonna be so easy, you know. And things started to pop. And this guy, the lieutenant, you know, that was in charge of them all,
Right.
he realized he's got something good there. You know?
Right.
And all the work went out, boom, 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 you know.
So you were able to turn them around and teach them so they could move along more quickly.
It's not a question, you know, they had no interest in helping us to begin with.
Right, right,
We were the enemy.
right.
Now, they surrendered, you know, and they needed the food. And we're the only ones that had the food.
Now, how did you feel being Jewish to be back in Germany? Because your family had just escaped, what, a year or two earlier, correct? How did it make you
was
feel?
a little uncomfortable, but I managed.
Mhm. Did
And,
you see any discrimination? Did anybody say anything negative to you?
They wouldn't say anything about being Jewish, you know. Certainly not the army guys, you know.
No, right. But what about the Germans?
They kept their P's and Q's.
Yeah.
So that's all I can tell you.
So how long?
Well, anyway, after it was almost time to go home already, you know. But I didn't have enough. Didn't have enough points over there to go home. You needed 85 points. They had qualifications for going home.
Right.
The people that did all the fighting, like you know, like my cousin, for instance, you know, he was in the middle of the fight, you know. He went home 1, 2, 3, you know.
Right.
Me, I had to wait till everybody else went home. And what we did is we closed up the place in Bad Schwalbach, and we moved everything to Oberammergau in Bavaria. That's where they used to have the Messerschmitt factory, right in the salt mine.
What's a Messerschmitt factory?
Messerschmitt's factory is the one, Messerschmitt 109, that's their premier fighter, the Germans' premier fighter, and they had the thing in the salt mine, the whole factory,
yes,
right
yes.
in the salt mine,
Yes.
you know.
Mhm.
They wouldn't let me go in there, you know, but I knew where it was.
You wanted to fool with that engine, right?
Yeah.
What were the living conditions like when you were over in Germany? What were you in barracks? Tell us how you lived.
No, in fact, it was very good. My living conditions were better in Germany than they were on the way, like in France, I was there for one day, and I can tell you something about living conditions. They put us in a place where the Germans used to, where the French army used to, was a barrack where the French army used to be housed there, you know.
Right.
And when the Germans came over, they were housed in there. And then we came over, and as we were going in there, they gave us a little brown box, you know, about 2x2 box, metal box, you know. We didn't know what it was all about. It says DDT on it, you know. Took it, went inside, and we went, it was store, bags filled with store, you know. And we went to bed, and all of a sudden it hit us one time. Lice.
Yeah.
And they were eating us up.
Oh gosh.
I jumped out of bed, took that DDT, spread it all over the place, and went back to sleep.
Mhm.
Well, when I first went back there, it was even worse. But all of a sudden, it just died down, and I got a night's sleep. That was the worst place
That was awful. So that was France.
in France.
Okay, but then Germany you said was much better.
Germany, we were building it in the place itself was called Bad Schwabach. It was, they used to have a bath, you know, sulfur baths.
Like a spa
And
almost, right? Or,
it was a spa
Mhm.
actually, and they had good hotels, you know,
Mhm.
and they built us in a good place.
And what about the food? Was the food decent or
We were the only ones that had good food. you know.
really? So you're lucky. So how long did you spend over there in total in Germany, working on the machines?
Well, I was there till let me see. Till I went home.
Till you went home, yeah.
They didn't find a place. Couldn't find a boat to get us home because the war in Japan was still going on,
Right.
and Japan was more important than we just won the war over here, you know.
Did you
So
did
I-
you see any combat or anything? Did you see people who had been in combat, or were you kind of a little removed from that?
Did I what?
Were you near the combat, the fighting, or were
No,
were you
I
somewhat
see
removed?
no combat whatsoever.
And you didn't see anyone who had been in combat?
No.
Okay. Did you form some friendships with some of the soldiers, some of the fellow American soldiers, or even some of the German soldiers? How was that? Any camaraderie?
The only time I met some German soldiers, and
To keep a little distance because you were American?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
different uniforms. You know.
Right. What about the Americans? Was there camaraderie with the other Americans?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh sure.
How did you, well, actually, on your time off, like, did you have any time off when you were in Germany? Any relaxation or?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so what did you do during the time off?
Well, I had Sunday off, no problem.
Right.
And in fact, as a matter of fact, while I was in charge of the German mechanics over there,
Right.
I got a Jeep, and my Jeep, I made sure it was the best one of the bunch.
Was there any place for you to go that was safe? Did you go sightseeing or what did you do?
No, I went to the, I tell you this story. One Sunday I decided I'm gonna go to Mannheim.
Mhm.
Somebody I knew from home, you
Oh,
know.
really? Yeah.
He was in the engineers over there in
Mhm.
Mannheim. I got on the Autobahn, and it was a civilian cars, but it was colored OD, you know, and in the back it had 4 stars on it. I said to myself, I better not pass this guy. I followed him in all the way into Mannheim. In Mannheim, I had to stop at one of the units. It was loaded with engineers, it was loaded with American soldiers. I stopped there and asked for this particular unit that I had to see this guy in. And they gave me directions, and I followed. I went back to get on the road again. And on the way, all of a sudden, I seen this guy. There was a truck, and there was that car was smashed up, you know.
Oh, really?
And they had taken out Patton. Patton smashed. He didn't smash up himself, you know. He had a major driving him. The major was okay, but he wasn't, you know.
Oh my
He was
goodness.
in bad shape.
Yeah.
And they took him to the hospital.
Wow.
Right then
Wow.
and there. That was really something.
That's what's up.
And but after a while, I went to see my friend, you know.
So you found your friend.
Huh?
You found your friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Patton later died.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
didn't die. And I was glad I didn't pass him on the road because he was a tough cookie. This
Right,
guy
right.
would eat you.
Now, how did you stay in touch with your family and friends at home, or did you? Did you?
Well, I'm not much of a writer, you know. But I sent a letter once in a while to my parents, you know, to let them know.
And
But Eleanor,
Yeah.
the girl I met on the beach,
yes.
and she wrote me a letter every night, and I wrote back, and she went over to my parents and told them what
That's
I
nice.
wrote and how I'm doing,
That's nice.
and
Yeah.
they were well informed, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
without me being without me sending him letters every day, you know.
Right. Right. Now, when the war ended, how did you return home? You said that you had to wait for a boat. You started to talk about that a little bit earlier.
How do what?
How did you get home? When the war ended,
Oh,
you were there till the war ended, right?
oh yeah.
Okay, so tell us
After
how you
we-
got back home.
VJ Day, you know.
Right.
We had a very nice party on VJ Day, by the way. We
Tell us about it.
we had a special party where the officers and the enlisted men and all the American guys were together in this party. And we had music, we hired a band, you know. Also, one day Mickey Rooney visited us.
Really?
And he's good.
That's great.
He was able to use every instrument.
All right.
Everyone he used is very good, you know.
Were there any other celebrities who came to entertain you during
He's
your
the only
wartime?
one, actually.
He was the only one?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was a good one.
But anyway, coming back to the VJ Day, they made arrangements for musicians from Wiesbaden, which wasn't too far away from. And the guys came over here, and everybody was drunk over there. But I don't drink. Even the lieutenant was soused, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now the guys that were supposed to take these guys back, forget about it. They couldn't drive a truck. No way.
Right.
The first thing that came to his mind is, where's Max? Where's Max?
Right.
So we got behind him. This was, here, Lieutenant. Says, Marcie, you gotta do me a favor. Take these guys over to Respond, take them in the trunk, take them
funny.
over there. I took them home in the middle of the night, you know. It was no event, you know. I came back. And
Well, you were sober. That's why. Are you as good a driver as you were a mechanic?
the what?
Were you as good a driver as you were a
If
mechanic?
you're a mechanic, you gotta drive.
Right, right. Now tell us about coming home. What was your reception? Did you go back to New York immediately, or where did you, when you came home back to this country, where did you go?
We came home and we came to New York City.
Yeah.
And they took us immediately to Fort Dix, you know, to the separation center.
Mhm.
They asked me to stay on, but I said, no, thank you. That was 3 years was enough. I want to go home. I wanted to go home and start fresh. I wanted to go home to the girl, especially that I liked.
Yeah.
And I went home.
And where was home? I'm sorry, where was
The what?
home again? Where was home?
Home was, at the time I moved, my parents had moved. In fact, my dad bought a house in Williamsburg, you know, right next to the synagogue there, which it's all gone today, you know.
Right.
But anyway, I went home and washed up and cleaned up, and I went over to my girlfriend.
Now, where was Eleanor living at the time?
She was living in Brooklyn on Hudson Street,
Okay.
and it wasn't a fancy neighborhood, you know, it was,
I bet she was glad to see you. Was she glad to see you?
oh yeah. And eventually we made word up that we were gonna get married.
Right.
Well, I didn't have a dime to my name, you know. I told my mother, you know, we're gonna get married, we're gonna go over to City Hall and get a marriage license and get married over there. Oh, she blew up, she says, my son is not gonna go on in City Hall. You're gonna get a proper wedding no matter what it takes, you know. I says, Ma, I know you don't have any money. I know I haven't any money for sure. I'm gonna do that. She says, I'm gonna, whatever it takes, I'm gonna find it, and we're gonna have a regular marriage, you know. And she was unable to contribute anything. How she was very, very poor. And I really blamed her father for it. Guy was a skilled plasterer. And right after the war, the industry just exploded. They needed people so bad. He didn't want to work on a regular job. And there was times when Eleanor didn't have enough to eat when she was a kid.
That's terrible.
But then when I met her already, you know, she had a job and she went to lunch by herself, you know. And when I came home, she looked better than when I first met her.
How would you say the war affected your life when you reflect on this?
Well, I never gave it much thought. I just took it in stride like everything else.
Right, right.
I've had bad moments in life and I've had good moments in life. But I say, generally speaking, I can't complain about the army. I can't complain. I had a pretty good time in the army. I just want to remind you of something that had happened when I was inducted, you know. When the guy came down, when the doctor came down and he had us 50 guys lined up in Grand Central Palace. He stopped by me and he looked at my hands and he said to me, "Mister, you don't know it, but I'm gonna send you for a vacation." And the place blew up in laughter, you know. But he wasn't too far off, because I didn't have to work as hard as I worked in civilian life. And there was just a few places that weren't all that great, you know. And there was a little adventure there, you know. But I took it in stride. I never got hurt, thank God. Well, I shouldn't say never. I tried skiing in Germany after the war and tumbled head over.
That's funny. Do you think it helped you become a better mechanic?
Huh?
Did you think it helped make you a better mechanic because of what you worked on during the war? Or just gave you more practice?
It was an experience that I wouldn't want to lose for anything in the world. I mean, I had experience. I went to very good schools over there. Not mechanic schools, but especially the airplane mechanic school.
Right.
They sent me to a school, and it ran 24, that school was around 24 hours a day, 3 shifts. There was always somebody in the school. And my shift started, I believe it was 3 o'clock in the morning. So you had to get up 2 o'clock to go to the mess hall. You have to be in the mess hall by 2 o'clock. Now, who wanted to get up in the middle of the night to eat, you know? You'd rather want to sleep, you know? Nobody really went to the mess hall. But by about, you know, during the day when we had schooling over there, which I really can say is one of the best schools I ever attended, you know. We had to have something to eat, you know, so we had intermission. There was a little PX over there that sold candies and whatnot, you know. And we all loaded up on candies, you know, and chocolate bars. And it really did a number on my teeth.
Oh no, yeah.
I had an abscess on my teeth, and I went to the dental clinic over there, and the doctor says, "We have to pull 6 teeth out of here." I says, no, I'm gonna go to town, I'm gonna pay for it myself. I don't want these teeth pulled, you know. A young boy, you know, young fella.
Right.
So he says to me, "Look, you're gonna have it done, or we're gonna bring you up for court-martial. You cannot leave this base. You gotta be in school every day. And this is gonna be done on your time off, right here." Took me up in front of the major, I think it was. I don't remember what rank he was. And the guy says, "You gotta do it. You cannot get off the base, you cannot get a pass. No way." So, in the Army during the wartime, you know, you're a commodity, just like ammunition, you know. A GI they can do anything they want with you, you know. You're expendable.
Right.
So they pulled 6 teeth on me. And they didn't even use injections. They used a spray, ice spray. But I felt every one that he pulled, you know. And in the end, you know, he had to sew up so that, you know. In the end, I tell you, I had to go to the PX for something, and I was ashamed to open my mouth there, you know. There was girls serving at the PX, and I had no teeth in my mouth. Anyway, they really tried to practice on me, and they did, you know.
Sounds like it.
They gave me, put teeth in there, you know.
Now, after the war was over and you came back, did you keep in touch with anybody that you had met there? Any of the friends you had made? Did you keep in touch with anybody?
No, they were from
They were from all over?
the friends that I made, you know, Texas, they were
Yeah.
from Massachusetts, not really many that I met, you know.
Okay.
Just the ones that I went in with, you know, at the time that I knew from,
They were local. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? They were in,
yeah.
yeah.
Like this guy that I met in Mannheim, you know, but other than that, I didn't have much contact. My cousin, he had a tough time in the army, you know. He was in the 99th Division, and he was in all the fighting over there. But he was lucky too. One of 3 guys that came home without really getting wounded, you know,
Yeah.
but he almost lost his feet.
Yeah.
Frozen feet.
Frozen, yeah. All right, anything else you want to share with us about your experience? Yeah.
If you ask me the question, I'll tell you.
I think you've told us many wonderful stories.
The what?
I think you've told us many wonderful stories.
I have more, but you know, you can't put everything in context, you know.
Right.
It's all like,
But it sounds like overall your experience was pretty positive.
I have nothing against the army. I had very good experience, but it was good. It was over.
Thank you, Max.